GameCube.
So another Nintendo Direct has come and gone, and it reminded me of a poem that I know all too well that I would like to recite for all of you. Ahem. I remember you was conflicted, misusing your influence. Sometimes I did the same, abusing my power full of resentment that turned into a deep depression. I found myself screaming in the hotel room. I thought the Direct was alright, just nothing super mind-blowing outside of one moment that I will get to later. But I noticed a lot of folks are really unhappy about this Direct. I've seen many call it, oh my gosh, the worst Direct ever, Nintendo is doomed! Yeah, I've heard that one before. You wanna know when? At every single other Nintendo Direct. Listen, I was there when E3 2015 was written. The same E3 where Nintendo spent 5 minutes on Skylanders stuff, capped off their event with a Mario Maker game that they announced a year prior, and they announced incredibly notable titles like Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival, Mario Tennis Ultra Smash, and Metroid Prime Federation Force. You do not have the right to act like you know my pain. Okay, but genuinely, I do somewhat understand where a lot of the disappointment comes from here. The Switch 2 is a year old now, and Nintendo has been very strangely radio silent about a lot of their stuff. The last time we got a general Nintendo Direct was in September of 2025, so I think a lot of people were going into this Direct expecting a huge blowout of games. Games that would be generation defining and prove the worth of the console in the long term. And this Direct really didn't do much to quench a lot of that thirst. The games that Nintendo showed off in the Direct were either games that we already knew about, or if it was a new game, tended to leave a lot to be desired, with one Xenoblade related exception that I'll get to in a bit. And I think it just goes to show that Nintendo is either one of two things. They've either become way too smug and arrogant to the point where they could just rest on their laurels, not announce anything for a good while, and let the fans fill in the blanks for them because of how lucrative Nintendo is as a brand these days, or they're just not super confident in this generation right now to the point where they're keeping a lot of stuff close to their chest until they're ready to be seen. Which, yeah, I'd rather a game be shown when it's actually ready to be seen, but the strategy in general I don't think boasts confidence for the average consumer to want to invest in a Switch 2 if they haven't been convinced already. Not that I personally care, obviously. If you've watched my videos long enough, you know that I don't need people to buy the Switch 2 to justify how much I like the console. And of course, anyone that buys a console with the hopes of getting something good rather than seeing something actually good right now, I think is just fighting a losing battle. But in terms of long-term investment, at least on Nintendo's side, I am a little bit concerned about their output right now, which that is not something I can say about the third parties. They've been doing a phenomenal job with the Switch 2, as proven in this Direct. And that's another thing I think people need to consider more. When it comes to the most extreme Direct reactions, I think a lot of people tend to scoff at the majority of the announcements, not because of the quality of the games themselves, but because it's not what they specifically want. 3D Mario! Listen, I'm not expecting folks to scream at every single announcement in these presentations, and I'm not gonna pretend that I cared about most of the stuff in the Direct, but I just think that's a really sad way to watch these presentations. Mainly because that behavior is just so far removed from the reason a lot of people got into this medium that they claim to like so much to begin with. Like when you got handed your very first video game, you didn't know any IPs, you didn't know any franchises. You were just given a game, you had no expectations going into it, you either liked it or you didn't, but you got an experience out of it. A brand new experience at that was completely out of the ordinary to everything you knew before. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind if you want to continue enjoying the medium of video games. Video games these days appeal to such a wide variety of people, so of course when you're only gonna be interested in very specific things that you immediately recognize, and you stay close-minded to everything that you don't recognize, these presentations are by default going to really disappoint you way more often than not. Of course, this doesn't speak to the actual quality of a game itself. If you think a game legitimately looks bad because, oh, you just don't think the gameplay looks all that interesting, interesting, or it looks like it's running on burnt Play-Doh, or it's just way too expensive for you to want to support it, then that's totally reasonable. That is completely fair. But if you're writing off a game and saying that it's bad because, oh, it's not the video game that I was asking for, therefore nobody wants this, that is just a genuinely sad way to live your life as a gamer. Quite frankly, some of my favorite presentations these days are actually the indie worlds, because it gives me the opportunity, with my open mind, to see lots of cool, new, interesting ideas that I wouldn't have been able to see in much bigger games from other studios. Dench Attack is obviously a new IP. None of us were familiar with the concept before that, but I saw it in action, and that's one of my most anticipated games now. So I recommend going into these directs with much more curiosity than expectations. So that way you have a better chance of appreciating what was there, rather than what wasn't there. But I think I've rambled about this topic for long enough. Let me just talk about a little bit of the stuff that was actually there. Starting with Rhythm Heaven Groove, I was on cloud 9 seeing this game in action. I absolutely adore Rhythm Heaven. And the fact that it has been over a year since the game was announced and we saw nothing new about it until now, that was absolutely ridiculous to me. But hey, we finally saw it more in action, and it's coming out in less than a month, and I will be there day one. It seems to be a much more ambitious Rhythm Heaven game than I was expecting. We're getting over 80 new minigames here, the most that the series has ever seen. Sure, I imagine there's more in Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix, but that was mainly a best of compilation. This is, for the most part, entirely new stuff. Plus, they're adding a cute little RPG mode and over 30 minigames to play with friends. I could see this being a really solid party title for a good while, and you know I'm gonna talk about it once the game comes out. Pokémon Pokopia, This expansion pass just really feels like a cheap way to get a lot more money out of the consumer. I haven't bought Pokopia. The game key card thing really put me off. It's one of the few times where I could say highest grossing media franchise in the world, and that statement is actually justified. They completely cheaped out there. I heard the game is amazing, but look at me. I'm the Animal Crossing guy. I'm pretty good when it comes to life simulation games. And speaking of overcharging, welcome back, Mario Kart World. Yep. Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave is Nintendo's next $80 game. Now granted, because of the physical-digital difference that Nintendo is doing now, the digital version is going to be $70 while the physical version is $80, but that doesn't make this any less scummy. You can't sit here and tell me that Nintendo didn't notice the backlash that Mario Kart World got for being $80. And regardless of the state of the world, the fact that they're going out of their way to do this again, even when other studios attempted to do so and then opted out after a fan backlash? This is unacceptable. It's a shame too, because Fortune's Weave legitimately looks fantastic. I've never really gotten into Fire Emblem myself, you can tell because I make Nintendo videos online, but from day one I adored the concept of this game. The fact that there's a raging war going on with the big centerpiece being in this giant coliseum, I just think is a really intense way to bring a story to life. And being able to choose between 4 different protagonists with different life stories and goals and motivations and personalities, that is a sick way to tell this kind of narrative. My money's on Lita being the next Smash Bros. Character. I'm gonna pick this game up, but I am absolutely not going to support the $80 practice for it. If they allow the game to be $70 during the pre-order period, if I can find a way to get the game secondhand, then yeah, I am absolutely going to pick it up. But I refuse to support one of the richest companies in the world nickel and diming the consumer like this. I was able to reluctantly accept the $70 price tag that PlayStation and Xbox were doing many years ago, but Nintendo being the one to bump it up to $80, let alone this quickly? Yeah, miss me with that nonsense. Which, speaking of anti-consumer things, we got Nothing Burger and DK Challenge. I tried this out, and it's basically just beating a level in a Donkey Kong game, whether it be the ones on Nintendo Classics or in Bonanza. It works for what it is, but it just feels so low effort. Why not do something interesting with these challenges, like a boss rush or a time attack? Or even do what NES Remix did and alter the code of the games to have unique things going on. But when it's literally just play a level of a game, get a digital card, and it's only available until September, this just feels like blatant filler for the sake of it. Same thing with making the Mario stuff in the Emerald Rush mode and Bonanza limited time thing. Why are they doing that? I'm just so frustrated about this limited time event and a piece of DLC I don't own. But in terms of DLC I will probably own, yeah, all 3 of the mainline Xenoblade Chronicles games are getting Switch 2 editions, and that's pretty freaking sick. And on top of that, a brand new Xenoblade game in Xenoblade Genesis. Like, Monolith Soft are the unsung goats of modern Nintendo. Seriously, I have no idea how they're able to put out such quality products at the rate that they do, with no stories of crunch or layoffs whatsoever. I've been meaning to play through the first Xenoblade game in particular for the longest time now, and now that it's finally no longer being held back by hardware limitations, yeah, now is the perfect time for me to get into it. It is a little bit annoying that they are drip feeding the Switch 2 editions of this trilogy, with Xenoblade 1 being the only one available now. Xenoblade 2 you have to wait till the end of July to get, and Xenoblade 3 is waiting until December. But Xenoblade 1 is the only game I own out of these 3, and it does have the most interesting stuff for me out of the Switch 2 edition. I'm a sucker for racing games, so the fact that you can drive hovercrafts and play online in races, yeah, that is something I will eat up for weeks. And I don't really have much to say about Xenoblade Genesis in particular. It looks really solid. I'm gonna be interested to see how they change up the formula. All I can really gauge from this is the Academy setting, which I'm not super into myself in most games, but I'm open to see how they can make it work. I'd say out of all the Nintendo announcements in this Direct, the Xenoblade stuff was the most substantial. Unlike Nintendo Switch Sports Resort, where I feel like the substance was buried under the Marianas Trench. Okay, I'm gonna make a dedicated video about this game in the future, so I'll keep this brief, but I'm really not impressed with what I'm seeing here. Mainly because this just feels like this generation's version of Wii Sports Resort, rather than an evolution of Wii Sports Resort. And that's one of my favorite games ever, so to see this just look like more of the same, or if they do add something new to it, it just looks worse? Yeah, I'm very concerned about this one. Also, we are not talking about this. These videos are PG friendly, okay? Moving on, I love how they have absolutely nothing to show when it comes to Star Fox, that they have to advertise that there is a demo for the game to justify it being in the Direct. And I played the demo of the game, and I mean, is good. I mean, this is a faithful remake of a good game we're talking about. Character models aside, I think visually it looks stunning. I like the new cutscenes that they added. It gives more weight to the characters and the world they live in. But beyond that, I mean, it is just Star Fox 64 again with online multiplayer. Whether that's worth $50 to you, $60 physically, that's up to you, obviously. I'm not 100% opposed since the gameplay loop of Star Fox 64 is really freaking good. And again, the demo just felt really great to play, but this really is a what you see is what you get sort of game. So take that for what you will. We saw more of Splatoon Raiders, and I still feel the same way I always have about it. It looks good, but I'm still not getting a great feel on how the game is supposed to be. I love the single player mode in Splatoon 3, and if this is just more of that with a treasure hunting twist, I'm definitely down. I'm likely gonna pick it up, and I'm definitely gonna tune into the dedicated Direct for the game, but I really don't think the average person that wasn't sold on this game the first time is gonna be sold the 4th time they're seeing this. And the final announcement Nintendo had in the Direct was the long-awaited remake of The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and they had nothing to show. Seriously, how is it that Xenoblade Genesis, a brand new game that is coming out in 2027, the one that gets a decent amount of gameplay footage and story cutscenes, yet a remake of a nearly 30-year-old game that's expected to come out in 2026 gets nothing other than Link sleeping in bed? I get it, it's Ocarina of Time. Nintendo knows that they don't need to sell people on a remake of that game. But we know how the game is. Just show it. It's not that hard. And especially as the final announcement in the Direct, and especially knowing how it was leaked months beforehand, it just felt a little deflating. And it makes me not blame people nearly as much for how they felt underwhelmed by the Direct as a whole. But speaking as someone that loves not just Nintendo, but video games as a whole, there was enough on the third-party and indie side to keep me satisfied. I'm actually really interested in Orbitals. It's one of those co-op game similar to It Takes Two, but with a space theme and an old school anime aesthetic that I really dig. The studio confirmed that the full game is going to be on the cartridge, no game keycard attached. Yeah, consider me sold. I kind of forgot Ninjala existed, honestly, so the fact that there was a sequel is pretty enticing. The first game just looked like Splatoon with ninja abilities to me, but this one looks like a much more open-ended co-op adventure game, which is much more interesting to me. Devil May Cry 5 is coming to the Switch 2 this month, and for only $30 at the launch price, that ain't bad at all. I've wanted to get into Devil May Cry for a while now, and I've always heard that 5 is easily the best place to start, and Capcom promised a smooth 60 FPS experience in docked and handheld modes. So yeah, I very likely will be getting this one. Muramasa of all things is coming back with Revenant blades. I always heard that Muramasa the Demon Blade was a huge hidden gem on the Wii, so it's surprising to see this come back at all, and I'm definitely interested in it. Final Fantasy getting a brand new game in Resonance in the HD 2D style. Regardless of if that art style feels oversaturated or not, it's just really cool to see a Final Fantasy game of all things in that art style. And Pikuniku 2, quite frankly, this was the best direct ever for annoying people. I friggin' adore Pikuniku, man. It's one of the most unique puzzle games I've ever played. The art style, the music, the story, the physics, it's just a really freaking cool game that's one of a kind. And it has a very quirky sense of humor that doesn't feel obnoxious. It's very sincere and lighthearted and fun. So the fact that we are getting a new game in that series and it's in 3D at that, sign me up. I am there day one. If this was a game that Nintendo published, I know all of you gremlins would eat this one up. Don't deny it, you know it's true. They acknowledge the Duskbloods is still a thing. That's about it. Seriously, why are you even gonna show it here at all if it's only gonna be for 20 seconds and we don't get any new gameplay? Yeah, I know there was a closed network test, but it should be open if you're asking me. I don't think many hardcore Nintendo fans have played Souls-like games before, myself included, so I think this would have been a perfect opportunity to get people to try it out. But whatever, they closed the borders, okay. Metaphor's getting a port, great to see that. I've heard nothing but great things about that game, which for a brand new Atlas IP for the first time in a while, that says a lot. Minecraft Switch 2 edition? Why wasn't this on the Switch 2 day one, let alone why didn't they announce a release date for it? But easily the highlight of the show for me. Sora is alive! All the Kingdom Hearts games from 1 to 3 are finally escaping Cloud Purgatory and making their way natively to the Switch 2, and in 1.5 plus 2.5's case on the Switch 1 as well. And we saw Kingdom Hearts 4 for the first time in 4 years, in a Nintendo Direct of all things. I'll keep this brief as well, since I do want to make a video talking about all this Kingdom Hearts stuff as well, but I'm a big fan of the series, okay? And the fact that the series has been dormant for so long now, since obviously Square Enix has been working really hard on the Final Fantasy VII Remake trilogy, the fact that the series lives to see another day and is finally being released natively on Nintendo hardware beyond just the rhythm game, it's just a very good feeling. And that, I think, is the big thing I want you guys to take away from this video. If you got even just one super exciting thing that you were really happy about in the Direct, as far as you should be concerned, it was a good Direct. Sure, we could argue the scope of the Direct as a whole, and whether Nintendo and other companies did enough or not, but as long as you got at least something that you know you'll think about for a while and be really excited for, I think that's what these presentations are all about, quite frankly. If you were disappointed by this Nintendo Direct, I can't really stop you. If you feel like they should have done more, if you think a lot of the games you saw were underwhelming, if you think the games aren't worth the price, if you think they showed next to nothing about certain games, that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're gonna pretend that the Direct was bad because they didn't show 3D Mario, then I don't want to talk to you. I'm sorry. Play other games. You'll be glad you did. Including Big Walk. I forgot to mention that one. That game looks pretty cool too. God bless and have a good one. Bye-bye!